Part 57. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 563. 561. Mrs. Huo was reluctant to part with her, but she also knew that Tianation's mother was about to give birth and she was worried because there was no one around to take care of her. So Mrs. Huo packed some things and asked Huo Yingzhe and Tian to take them with them. Then she took out a silver longevity lock and said, Tian, your mother is about to give birth. The journey is far away. Our old bones can't pass by. I'm giving this to your future brothers and sisters, I hope you accept it. Tian took it and said with a smile, Thank you, Grandma. This was given to a younger brother or younger sister, and Tian couldn't refuse. This is a personal relationship between the two families. At worst, when the elder sister-in-law gives birth to a child, the parents can also give them gifts. Although Huo Yingzhe could not bear to part with the two old people, he had no sense of belonging to Yanjing. He was not as good as Nanxi and Qijia village. On the night before leaving, Huo Yingzhe and Mr. Huo chatted for a long time in the study. Yingzhe, now that you are gone, I feel empty in my heart, Mr. Huo said, always feeling uneasy and frightened by the previous changes. Even if the Huo family knows the secret, they don't dare to act rashly. When Huo Yingzhe saw that his grandfather was telling him these things, he couldn't hide it from his grandfather. He took off the lid of the teacup on the side, dipped his finger in some water, and wrote 3 words on the table. Then after the person's name, another sign with an arrow pointing upwards was drawn. Ah, Mr. Huo frowned, it's him. Yes, Huo Yingzhe said. Then should we help him return to Yanjing? Mr. Huo asked. With those people here, their action would be too eye-catching and the risk would be too high. No need, Huo Yingzhe denied, if we don't intervene, he will come back. Some people are more anxious than us. At the same time, the Huo family is too popular and there is no need to do these things anymore, because we have done what we should do before. Did it? Mr. Huo thought for a while, nodded and said, well, this is best. After talking to Huo Yingzhe, Mr. Huo felt at ease. As long as this year passes peacefully, everything will be stable in the future. When Huo Yingzhe came, he and Tian each had a package containing clothes. When they returned, there was another big package containing the things Mrs. Huo had prepared for Huo Yingzhe and Tian. There are many things that Mrs. Huo used to get from him and the old man's supplies, and they can't be bought with money from outside. When he arrived in Nanxi, Huo Yingzhe found his mother in private. Dad, Mom, Tian, are going to Qijia village tomorrow. Firstly, I want to take care of my mother-in-law, and secondly, I want to review for the exam. Thirdly, this is the most important thing, while I'm young, and I haven't recovered yet. Work and give you a grandson or granddaughter as soon as possible. The feng shui in Qijia village is good. Maybe you can have 2 grandsons and granddaughters at once. When Zhang Lifang heard this, she became even more happy. She had originally agreed that her son and daughter-in-law would stay in Qijia village for a while. It would be even better if she was pregnant. She couldn't take care of Tian when she went to work every day. In Qijia village, food and supplies were more convenient than in Nanxi. Tianation's mother also took care of her, and she was much more considerate than her mother-in-law. Okay, you go ahead. Zhang Lifang smiled and said, work hard. Huo Jekan chuckled and said, after talking to Yingzhe last time, I have thought a lot and feel that there is a high possibility of resuming the college entrance examination. Yingzhe can take advantage of this time to review carefully. After talking to their parents, Huo Yingzhe and Tian packed their bags and went to Qijia village. Tian and Huo Yingzhe finally returned to Qijia village at the end of the first year. Wang Shuping was very happy to see her daughter coming. I didn't expect you to come back at the end of the month. We originally planned to go to Hawaii City. Wang Shuping said, you are here, you can go first, help clean the house and dry the bedding. Okay, we will go to Hawaii City tomorrow, He Tian agreed. Her mother looked very good and she was relieved. When He Jingyu saw Huo Yingji returning home with his daughter, he was also very happy and gave Huo Yingji a good look. As a father-in-law, if he looks bad toward his son-in-law, it is because he feels sorry for his daughter and is worried that his son-in-law will treat her badly. If the son-in-law behaves well and loves his daughter, of course he won't be so worried all the time. At night, Wang Shuping got up at night. Although He Jingyu was supporting her, she twisted her foot for some reason. The range of movement was a bit large, her stomach began to hurt, and her amniotic fluid ruptured. He Jingyu was anxious and shouted, "Shuping is about to give birth." He Tian and Huo Yingji got up quickly. He Tian was trembling with fear, hurriedly put on her clothes, and came over and asked, "Dad, what's wrong with Mom? Is it too late to send her to the hospital now?" Grandma Chi-san also got up when she heard the sound. How could He Jingyu understand this? I don't know, He Jingyu said. He had a good plan and was going to Hawaii City tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Unexpectedly, something happened at night. Grandma Chi-san came in, took a look, and saw that the amniotic water had broken. She said, "It's too late. Tian, go boil the water. Jingyu, Yingji, you two hurry up and pick up Wang Shuilian and ask her to come and deliver the baby." He Jingyu and He Tian were stunned and looked at each other. The reason why they chose to go to Hawaii City was to avoid Wang Shuilian. After all, Wang Shuilian is Qi Jiangguo's aunt. If they take advantage of this moment to cause trouble and harm their mother, wouldn't they regret it? Go quickly. If Wang Shuilian does something bad, we have 100 or 1,000 ways to deal with Wang Shuilian's family, Grandma Chi-san said decisively. Just take Wang Shuilian over quickly. I'll tell her. If she is smart, I will naturally choose the best one. Then don't blame me for being rude. Dad, I'm going to pick up Wang Shuilian. You go find Aunt Bigfoot and pick up her relatives. There are 2 midwives. If Wang Shuilian wants to do something bad, he has to worry about the impact. Huo Yingji suggested that there is no need for 2 people to go to one place, we can work separately. Grandma Chi-san nodded and said, "Yes, that's it, go quickly." Hey, the 3 people agreed. Although Huo Yingji couldn't enter the house, he could feel his mother-in-law's condition and was fine for the time being. I made a homemade torch, dipped it in oil, and rode my bicycle to pick up Wang Shuilian. In fact, this torch was unnecessary, but in order to hide it from others, it was dark outside, so it was a bit incredible that he was riding a bicycle quickly in the dark. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 564. 562. Wang Shuilian often traveled to Kijia village, and the people who knocked on the door late at night were probably either suffering from emergencies or giving birth to children. After hurriedly getting dressed, Wang Shuilian came over to open the door, lit the torch, and saw Huo Yingji clearly. "Dr. Wang, please come with me to Kijia village. My mother-in-law is going to give birth," Huo Yingji said politely and elegantly. Wang Shuilian was stunned again. Although she was very familiar with the people in Kijia village, she had been avoiding He Tianatian's family all these years, but she was fine with them. Now when someone came to invite her, she was a little hesitant. If the birth control goes well, that's what it should be. If something unexpected happens, it's an enmity. I heard that the He family and He Tianatian's husband were all very respectable people. If something unexpected happened, their whole family would not be able to live in peace. You also know the situation of our 2 families. It's not appropriate for me to go. You can find another Jiaoming, Wang Shuilian said softly, not wanting to give birth to He Tianatian's Mother's Day and not wanting to cause trouble. Firstly, it was to avoid suspicion, and secondly, it was because of his cousin Qi Jiangguo and his aunt's family who lived a miserable life. Huo Yingji squinted his eyes and shot Wang Shuilian with sharp eyes, saying, "Are you going, or not?" Just one sentence, simple. But these words sounded like thunder to Wang Shuilian's ears. Wang Shuilian could hardly breathe at this moment and took 2 steps back. Quickly calculating in her mind, Wang Shuilian realized that if something happened to He Tianatian's mother if she didn't go, she wouldn't be able to get rid of the involvement and would not save her. What everyone can be happy about now is that Wang Shuping gave birth to her child successfully. "Go," Wang Shuilian said, "she is a smart person. This is not an ordinary personal grudge, it is about human life. If something goes wrong, it will not stop until death." "Okay," Huo Yingji said, "my mother-in-law is fine, and your benefits are indispensable." Wang Shuilian didn't answer. She went into the house and packed some things, put them in the medical kit, and followed Huo Yingji to Qijia village. Huo Yingji had a torch tied to the handlebars of his car, and Wang Shuilian was sitting in the back seat. Huo Yingji was riding his bicycle so fast that Wang Shuilian was so scared that she clung to the back seat of the bicycle for fear of accidentally falling off. This Huo Yingji is also very powerful. Even during the day, the bicycle is not that fast, let alone at night. Within half an hour of going back and forth, Huo Yingji picked up Wang Shuilian. He Tiantian had already boiled 2 large pots of hot water, and then took out the things her mother had prepared for giving birth. Children here in Qijia village are given birth in haystacks so that the house will not be dirty. He Tiantian spread a thick layer of grass on the ground, and covered it with an old mattress. The cover was old, but it was clean and had been prepared in advance. Liang Hongyu heard the commotion and came with Secretary Qi to take a look. Liang Hongyu and He Tiantian helped Wang Shuping to the kitchen. "Everything is ready, just waiting for the midwife." When Wang Shuilian arrived, everyone looked at Wang Shuilian. Liang Hongyu smiled, stepped forward and said, "Shuilian, I'm going to have to work hard for you this time." Wang Shuilian's mind flashed with Huo Yingji's look of wanting to kill her whole family, and she hurriedly said, "Doctors care about their parents. I am in this line of work, what else is hard work? I wash my hands first, and the men go out first." Liang Hongyu felt relieved when she saw that Wang Shuilian was not showing off, but did not go out. He Tiantian poured hot water for Wang Shuilian and washed her hands. He Tiantian was still wary of Wang Shuilian. After all, her mother's life was at stake and she didn't dare to be careless. Liang Hongyu was by the side, making He Tiantian feel relieved. When He Tiantian came out to pour water, Huo Yingji took a small porcelain bottle and whispered, "Here is a medicine that I specially refined before. It can increase my mother-in-law's strength and reduce pain. Take it and give it secretly. Mother-in-law eats it." In He Tianatian's heart, she thought it was a 3-point poison, and she became suspicious of Huo Yingji's medicine. "Have you forgotten what I am capable of?" Huo Yingji asked softly. "Don't worry, my mother-in-law will be fine after eating this." He Tiantian then remembered that Huo Yingji's previous life was an ancient god. Yes, if you didn't tell me, I almost forgot." He Tiantian was overjoyed and quickly took it. "Thank you, brother Yingji." He Tiantian washed the basin, took the pills, and entered the temporary delivery room. In order to keep warm, He Tiantian also lit a brazier. He Tiantian saw that her mother's head was covered with sweat, so she wiped the sweat with a dry towel and put the green pill there into her mother's mouth. When this pill entered Wang Shuping's mouth, it melted in her mouth. The pain in her body was immediately relieved, and Wang Shuping felt that she had strength. "Let me see if the fetal position is correct first," Wang Shuilian said, then lifted up the quilt and touched Wang Shuping's belly with both hands. Wang Shuping touched it and nodded, "The fetal position is very correct, don't worry." Then he looked at the palace entrance and said, "We have to wait a little longer." "Sorry to trouble you," Wang Shuping said gratefully. No matter what happened before, as long as Wang Shuilian tried his best to control her birth, she would be grateful. Wang Shuilian smiled and said, "No trouble, I would have done the same thing for other people. Come on, I'll take your pulse again." Wang Shuping stretched out her arm and asked Wang Shuilian to feel her pulse. After checking the pulse, Wang Shuilian could finally rest assured that Wang Shuping was in good health and this pregnancy should be fine. The He family is worried about something happening, and Wang Shuilian is even more worried. She had no intention of harming anyone, but she had a quarrel before, and when something happened to Wang Shuping, she couldn't explain it clearly. "I heard that when giving birth, you have to eat. If you don't eat, you won't have the energy to give birth." He Tiantian ordered a bowl of noodles with 4 eggs in it. Wang Shuping didn't eat much. When she saw her daughter bringing a big bowl, she frowned and said, "Tiantian, I can't finish all this." "Eat as much as you can," He Tiantian said, "eat more, you will have more strength." Wang Shuping ate half of it and couldn't eat any more. Half an hour after eating, Wang Shuping's stomach pain became more severe. Wang Shuilian looked at it, washed her hands, took out the alcohol wipe scissors from the medicine box for simple disinfection, put them aside, and covered them with clean gauze for later use. "Okay, now you can use force," Wang Shuilian said. "Now that your fetal position is correct, your pulse is strong, and your cervix is open, you just need to use force as I told you. Exhale, inhale, force." Although Wang Shuping felt pain, it was within the range of her tolerance, and her body seemed to have endless strength. He Tiantian didn't dare to look, but she was worried about her mother. She kept holding her mother's hand and said, "Mom, don't be afraid, come on, come on." Wang Shuping felt even more relieved when she heard her daughter's voice. After finally shouting, Wang Shuping's voice became softer. Then a powerful baby cry echoed throughout the temporary delivery room. It's born, Liang Hongyu was excited. "Oh, Shuping, it's a son." He Tiantian was moved and said, "Mom, I have a younger brother, I have a younger brother." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 565. 563. In the first 20 years, her parents gave her all their love. When she grows up, gets married, and has her own family, she has to leave her parents and cannot stay with her parents. This brother arrived like an angel and would stay with her parents for her in the future so that they would no longer be alone. What's more important is that he can inherit her grandmother's career. He Tiantian knows that she is not good at that and doesn't want to take on that. She just wants to live her own life. "Can you let me take a look?" Wang Shuping's eyes were red. Although she was very tired, she did not faint and wanted to take a look at her son. Over there, Wang Shuilian had already cleaned up the child, wrapped it in swaddling clothes, and handed it over to He Tiantian. "Thank you." At this moment, He Tiantian was very grateful to Wang Shuilian. "You're welcome," Wang Shuilian said with a smile. "It would be the best if everything goes smoothly." Wang Shuilian helped clean up the remaining things, put them all in a small earthen jar, put them aside, and said, "It's all here, I didn't take anything." Grandma Chi-san came in, took 10 yuan, and said, "Dr. Wang, thank you this time. It's dark and I haven't prepared anything. I'll give you the money for delivering the baby first. You can take the 10 yuan. I'll boil the eggs tomorrow and give them to you, send it over." Wang Shuilian washed her hands with soap, took 10 yuan, then took out 5 yuan from her bag and said, "Third aunt, 5 yuan is enough, you don't need that much." Grandma Chi-san was not polite, nodded and said, "Then I will keep it and give you some more gifts tomorrow. Dazu, take Dr. Wang back, light the torch, and don't drop it." "Hey, don't worry, third aunt, I will definitely send Dr. Wang home safely. Secretary Qi said, Dr. Wang, please. Wang Shuping looked at the child and finally felt relieved. He Tian handed the child to Liang Hongyu and said, Aunt Liang, help me hold my brother. I will carry my mother back to the house first. He Tian put her mother into clean clothes, put on the best toilet paper, covered her whole body and head with a quilt, and carried her directly to the bedroom. It's good to be strong and you don't need to ask others. Huo Yingzhe was surrounded by black lines. She had forgotten that she had a husband. In fact, he could do it for her. Mom, sleep peacefully. If you need anything, just call me, he Tian said softly, comforting her mother. Wang Shuping nodded and said, then I'll go to bed. She is so tired. Wang Shuping had just fallen asleep over there, when He Jingyu and Zhao Dejiao came with the midwives and found that the baby had been born. Grandma Qi-san didn't ask anyone to make the trip in vain, and asked for 5 yuan. Zhao Dejiao's sister said nothing and went back to rest with her sister. How is your mother? He Jingyu asked with concern. He was so frightened along the way that he almost couldn't bear it. Mom is fine, she's just tired. She's asleep now, he Tian smiled and said, Dad, look, Mom gave birth to a little brother. She cried loudly just now. It looks like a healthy baby. He Jingyu was stunned and said, it's a son. Are you unhappy? There are so many people who want to have a son but can't. He Tian smiled and said, look, do you look like me? He, I'm happy, He Jingyu said with a smile, if Yingzhe bullies you, let your brother take it out on you. Huo Yingzhe raised his eyebrows when he heard this outside. That little brat, so young, will take more than 20 years to grow up. So what if I grow up? He Tian smiled and said, Dad, you are right. I have always been unprogressive. My grandmother has always been worried that no one will inherit the family business. Now that she has a younger brother, she must be very happy. He Jingyu was worried that his daughter would be unhappy, so he quickly said, your grandmother said that no matter whether it is a boy or a girl, the share that should be given to you will not be less. Haha, okay, he Tian agreed. She is very satisfied with her current life and doesn't care. As long as you have enough money. After returning from rebirth, she did not allow herself to be wronged. He Jingyu took the child and held the child very skillfully. Grandma Qi-san smiled and asked, Jingyu used to hold children a lot, right? He looks quite skillful. When Shuping gave birth to Tian, she was injured and couldn't take care of the child. I usually take care of the child, He Jingyu said, I know how to take care of the child. Foster mother, Tian, please go back and rest quickly. I'm here. That's good. You guys have a good rest so you can replace me tomorrow. Everyone was very happy to see He Jingyu. They might not be able to sleep for a while, so let him be happy and they go back to sleep first. He Tian first sent Grandma Qi-san into the house. Seeing that it was already cold under her bed, she went to fill 2 hot water bottles, one for Grandma and one for Grandpa Qi. After settling the 2 old people, He Tian followed Huo Yingzhe back to the room. He Tian was very happy and said with a smile, thank you for your hard work, our brother Yingzhe. You're welcome. Huo Yingzhe smiled and lay on the bed holding He Tian. The next morning, He Tian had something on her mind, so she got up early and boiled nearly 50 eggs at home. First, he sent 20 to Zhao Dejiao's sister, and then prepared a gift for Wang Shuilian, a whole basket containing 20 boiled eggs, 2 packs of white rabbit toffees, and 2 pounds of milk brought from Nanji. Desserts back. He Jingyu didn't sleep at night. During the day, someone came to congratulate him. He was very happy and not sleepy anymore. He Jingyu brought great benefits to Kijia village, so the villagers respected He Jingyu and Wang Shuping very much and sent them good things from home. None of the eggs delivered were less than 10, and some were delivered with bacon made from aged meat. In the afternoon, there were fewer people at home, so He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhe had time to go to Hujiakan to give Wang Shuilian gifts. Wang Shuilian happened to be drying medicinal materials in the yard, and saw He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhe coming over and letting them in. "Thank you, Dr. Wang," He Tiantian said, "this is our thank you gift. I will invite you to dinner when my brother is 1 month old." "Then I'm welcome." Wang Shuilian smiled and took down the things in the basket. There was a conflict between the two families, but now they have reached a delicate balance because they worked together during the delivery last night. Please subscribe. Going to eat dirt. Genuine subscription. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 566. 564. He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhe were walking on the road. The setting sun stretched their shadows very long. "Brother Yingzhe, it's great that we can stay like this forever," He Tiantian tilted her head, "until the end of time." "Okay, I'll try my best," Huo Yingzhe said. "Human life is very short. If you want to last forever, it will be very difficult, but he will work hard." He Tiantian turned around and walked backwards, facing Huo Yingzhe. Because she was facing the sun, she kept squinting her eyes and asked, "Brother Yingzhe, it will be February 2nd in 3 days, and the dragon will raise its head. Last time the snake the king said that he would overcome the tribulation on this day, and we promised him that we would help him. What preparations do you need?" Huo Yingzhe put his hands behind his back easily, leaned forward slightly, looked at He Tiantian with a smile, and said, "I don't need to prepare. I saw the Snake King survive 2 tribulations. It was really cruel. Each time, he escaped death." He Tiantian said, "Since we agreed to the Snake King, we must pay attention to it and not take it lightly. He is your benefactor, I am your wife, and I am also your benefactor. Brother Yingzhe, you must do your best to help the Snake King, okay?" Before getting married, Huo Yingzhe often worried about gains and losses. He would not like any unrelated person of the opposite sex who appeared next to He Tiantian. Now that he is married, he feels He Tianatian's love mentally and physically, and his worry about gains and losses has weakened, so now that he hears He Tiantian talk about the Snake King, he can face it calmly. "Okay, I will try my best to help him and let him become the king of that world," Huo Yingzhe promised. After getting married, he saw many things clearly. For example, the Snake King, although this little spiritual snake has other ideas about He Tiantian, he has no ability to do anything and is not his opponent. What's more important is that He Tiantian only regards him as a friend and does not have any feelings between men and women. If that's the case, why does he still care about everything and lose his grace? "Brother Yingzhe, you are so kind." He Tiantian smiled coquettishly, and then said in a soft and waxy voice, "Master Yingzhe, I have no way of repaying your kindness, so I can only pledge myself to you, okay?" Huo Yingzhe pinched He Tianatian's chin, kissed her lips, and said, "Yes." Asterisk caret. Caret asterisk, he. He Tiantian smiled sweetly. Then avoiding Huo Yingzhe's hand, He Tiantian turned around and ran forward quickly. Huo Yingzhe looked at He Tianatian's slender back fondly, shook his head and laughed. Such a woman made him want to stop. When the two returned home, He Tiantian made confinement rice for her mother, hand-rolled noodles without salt, some green vegetables, and 2 eggs. Except when he was breastfeeding, He Jingyu held his son in his arms and smiled. During the meal, He Tiantian went to replace him. He Jingyu was still worried that his daughter would not be able to take care of the child. Wang Shuping smiled and said, "Tiantian, don't hold me anymore. If a child is used to being held, he will always need someone to hold him. If there is no work now, someone will hold him. When he is busy, who will have time to hold him? Let him sleep next to me." I heard people say that children have soft bones and it's better to sleep alone. He Tian smiled and put his brother next to his mother. Yes, it's not good to be hugged by others, Wang Shuping said angrily, that is, your father, doting on you and your brother, hugging you and your brother all the time, and crying all the time when there is no time to hug you. Haha, Mom, was it difficult to take care of me when I was a child? He Tian asked. Only when you become a parent can you understand the hard work of raising children. Wang Shuping nodded and said, yes, you have been in poor health since you were a child. Your father and I took turns holding you all night long, and you cried as soon as you put you on the bed. When you cried, your father and I felt like daggers in our hearts. Cut the same. Thank you for your hard work, Mom and Dad, he Tian said gratefully. No matter how many things she did for her parents, she could not fully repay her parents' kindness. This is how we all become parents, Wang Shuping said with a smile. When you are 3 years old and Yingzhe is 6 years old, when we have to go to work, Yingzhe will take you. When Yingzhe goes to school, you insist on following him. Go, but the school didn't allow it, and you cried for a long time. Then when you were 5 years old, you were in the first grade, following Yingzhe like a little tail, and so did we. See it in our eyes. The last time Huo Yingzhe's accident was so serious, my father and I will not regret our marriage if there is a chance of Huo Yingzhe's recovery. I understand how Mom and Dad feel. We are both parents and want their children to be well. God treats good people, and brother Yingzhe has recovered his health, he Tian said, thanking her parents for their support and understanding. It's good if you can figure it out, Wang Shuping said. Your father sometimes speaks too bluntly, but he is the person I love most in the world. I know, I never blamed my father, it's too late to be grateful, he Tian said seriously. She never wanted to blame her parents, only grateful. That's good, Wang Shuping said. By the way, how long can you stay here this time? Wang Shuping hopes that her daughter can stay until she finishes confinement. Mom, you forgot, I am still an educated youth here. Where would I be if I didn't come here? He Tian smiled. Besides, Yingzhe said, come here to review and recuperate. And, besides, you should have given birth to a baby earlier. Wang Shuping covered her mouth and smiled. Your mother-in-law, she always wanted to have another baby before. Like me, my body was injured and I couldn't give birth. Now that I have given birth, she has not. I can only place my hope on you. Tianation's face turned red and she said, Mom, I have something else to do, so I'm going out first. That's true. While Yingzhe is not working and you have time, you can go take more bubble baths, maybe. Wang Shuping said with a smile, hoping that her daughter could get pregnant as soon as possible. In this case, she would be pregnant after she is no longer in confinement. Take care of my daughter. Seeing her daughter leaving, Wang Shuping was in a good mood. When He Jingyu came in, he saw his smiling wife and said, what makes you so happy? It's okay, I just talked to Tian about her childhood, Wang Shuping said with a smile. It was better than talking to her husband about the sexual intercourse between her daughter and her son-in-law. He Jingyu came in and wanted to hold the child again. Pa, Wang Shuping hit He Jingyu's hand. If the child doesn't cry, let him sleep on the bed. Once he gets used to it, he will have to be hugged in the future. He Jingyu retracted his hand and said with a smile, what you are saying is, you can't spoil this kid. Tian is a daughter's family. Her health was not good when she was young, so we took care of her. You can't spoil this kid. Okay, both the rich daughter and the poor son will listen to you, Wang Shuping said with a smile. On this point, their views are the same. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 567. 565. The couple reached an agreement on the education of their children. Boys should not be pampered. Only when they grow up can they become men and protect their families. After He Tiantian returned, Huo Yingzhe had already washed herself up and warmed up her bed. Huo Yingzhe's eyes have been fixed on He Tiantian since He Tiantian came in, his eyes burning. The reason why Huo Yingzhe reacted so eagerly was, on the one hand, because He Tiantian promised him yesterday, and on the other hand, because what He Tiantian teased this afternoon had been making Huo Yingzhe feel itchy. Come on, come in, it's warm inside. Huo Yingzhe sat inside and gave up the warm quilt to He Tiantian. He Tiantian pursed her lips and smiled, lowered her head, took her pajamas and put them on the bedside. When He Tiantian took off her clothes and sat on the bed, Huo Yingzhe rushed forward impatiently. A hearty movement of love can always make people fall asleep quickly. When the alarm clock rang in the morning, He Tianatian's body was weak and she didn't want to get up. However, now was the time when she needed to take care of her mother and she couldn't sleep in. Huo Yingzhe wanted to stop He Tiantian, but he didn't dare. He could only aggrieve himself and don't bother his wife so many times next time, so as not to tire his wife. In the past few days, the family has become more lively because of the addition of a child. He Jingyu wrote to his mother who was far abroad to tell her the good news. In a blink of an eye, the day came for the Snake King to overcome the tribulation. On February 2nd, the dragon raises its head. It is on this day that everything comes to life. At night, Huo Yingzhe set up a barrier to let Qi San's grandmother, He Jingyu and his wife sleep peacefully, and then he took He Tiantian with him to the cave in the back mountain. When they arrived in the cave, He Tiantian could also feel that the atmosphere inside was different, and there was an indescribable smell in the air. "Brother Yingzhe, why doesn't the Snake King come out yet?" He Tiantian asked in a low voice, looking at the bubbling water. "The time has not come yet," Huo Yingzhe said, "wait a little longer. This little spirit snake is very talented and works very hard. In this way, he doesn't need to put in much effort. It is divided into two steps. The first step is to overcome the catastrophe of Jushin Suanli, the second step is to tear apart the cracks in space and send this little spiritual snake away from here. As long as it survives the 9 heavens' mysterious thunder, the little spirit snake is not suitable to stay in the human world, so it must leave the human world as soon as possible." Huo Yingzhe made a plan. The little spirit snake used his own power to successfully overcome the tribulation. Then he healed the little spirit snake while the little spirit snake tore up the space and sent him away directly. "Oh," He Tiantian agreed, looking intently at the steaming pool. Unknowingly, 1 hour passed and 2 hours passed. Huo Yingzhe sat on the stone, let He Tiantian sit on his lap, and waited slowly. Just when He Tiantian was drowsy, he suddenly heard a louder bubbling sound, and He Tiantian quickly opened his eyes. Then, I saw the heat in the pool becoming more smoky, and a big head vaguely peeking out of the water. "Little snake, you are making rapid progress," Huo Yingzhe praised, "you have not let me down." The Snake King looked at He Tiantian and nodded, indicating that he was fine. "Snake King, work hard." He Tiantian clenched her 2 small fists and said encouragingly. Success or failure lies in this one move. He Tiantian hopes that Snake King can pass as soon as possible. Huo Yingzhe looked at the Snake King and said with a smile, "You must also know that overcoming the tribulation is not all bad. When you go through the tribulation, although you have to endure pain, you can get more strength and temper at the same time. This it is an ability that you can never obtain through quiet practice, so when you are going through the tribulation, I will not help you. You have to use your own strength to overcome the tribulation." "Ah," He Tiantian was shocked, "Brother Yingzhe, didn't you say you wanted to help the Snake King?" Huo Yingzhe shook He Tianatian's hand to reassure her, and continued, "I am helping him, but if I help him during the tribulation, it will actually harm him. Wait until he uses his own ability to survive the tribulation. Gee, I will provide him with the ability to recover quickly, and then help him tear open the space rift and send him away. This is the best for him, how about it?" The Snake King nodded and said, "Okay, that's it." This is his own fate, but why is it not his own opportunity? Crisis and opportunity are just one word apart, but they are worlds apart. You try your best to overcome the tribulation. Don't worry about being smashed to pieces. I will be there to protect you. Even if you don't succeed, at least I can save your life, so you don't have to worry about anything later. Huo Yingji said that because He Tian was here, he had to keep the Snake King alive and then send him away smoothly. Okay, Snake King nodded, hesitated, thank you. You're welcome, Huo Yingji said softly. He was also helping himself. By the way, there are a few practitioners outside, but don't worry, their abilities are not enough to affect you. Those people, let alone Jushin Suan Li, San Tian Xian Lei, can kill them, so no matter what happens, don't be distracted. If someone really threatens or interferes with your tribulation, I will come forward to deal with it. Snake King, remember, keep your mind focused and focused, He Tian reminded quickly, very worried. He Tian has seen the Snake King survive 2 tribulations, and each time the Snake King was miserable. But similarly, after the Snake King overcomes the tribulation, his power will always become very powerful. I took note of it. The Snake King nodded and looked up into the air with his huge head. When he felt that the time was up, he removed the restrictions on the golden jade clothes. The gold jade garment floated in the air, and then started from a piece on the side, cracking, exploded, turned into powder, and scattered in the air. He Tian was dumbfounded, but Huo Yingji took a few steps back, waved his hand, and set up a barrier. In this way, the powder and smoke from outside can't come in, but He Tian can see everything outside. After a while, all the jade pieces turned into powder, floating in the air like the mist. The Snake King has big nostrils, breathing hard, and exhaling. Gradually, the smoke and powder in the air became less and less, and became lighter and lighter, until they disappeared completely. The body of the Snake King had swelled several times, and with a dragon roar, it soared into the sky. Before flying away, the Snake King looked back at He Tian. Resolutely, he rushed into the air. The 9 heavens mysterious thunder, like the previous 3 days mysterious thunder and 6 heavens mysterious thunder, increases in quantity. The first time, there was only 1 thunderbolt, the second time, there were 2 thunderbolts coming from the front and back directions, the third time, it was in the shape of a triangle so as to surround it toward the middle, and so on. The 9 heavens mysterious thunder was more destructive than the previous 2 tribulations, so the location of the tribulation was thousands of meters high in the sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 568. 566. Ordinary humans can't see it at all. He Tian couldn't see it either, so she could only put her hands together and start praying for the Snake King. But for Huo Yingji, it is not difficult. Although Little Silver Snake used the power of the outside world, it has to be said that Little Spirit Snake's talent is very good. The unusual movement in the back mountain attracted the attention of the people in Kijia village. After all, thunder is so loud that anyone except the deaf can hear it. Thinking about the legend about the dragon in the back mountain, every household dared not come out, but they all knelt on the ground at home, praying for the dragon's protection, and some even placed sacrifices on the table. Qianchikan and Sun Sihao, who were guarding Daowen, did not dare to come out even if they were curious about what was going on outside. They only dared to open a window and look outside. They only saw streaks of lightning and loud noises, which stung their eyes. Ears ringing. Qianchikan quickly closed the window and said, "Brother Sun, it's better not to look at it." Sun Sihao was not very courageous, so he quickly agreed, "You can't watch it, otherwise you won't be able to save your ears and eyes." The two people lit the brazier and smoked while listening to the loud noise outside. This wooden house is very strong, and there is also a lightning rod installed by He Jingyu before. As long as they don't go out, nothing will happen. Kui Ying felt something strange in Huashan, the spot for educated youth in Kijia village, and hurried to the back mountain. Under the pressure of the powerful nine heavens' mysterious thunder, their faces were pale and their auras were disordered. Junior sister, let's go back quickly. We can't stay in the back mountain. Huashan took the junior sister's hand and walked back. Kui Ying was very stubborn. She shook off Huashan's hand and said, I won't leave. I want to see what happened. Why is the back hill of Kijia village like this? Look at the thunder and lightning in the sky. If we reach the mountain, we will be a moving target. If a lightning strikes down, it will kill us. Huashan said, this is the end of the Dharma era, and our abilities are limited. Even if we have talent, so what? Going up rashly will lead to death. Senior brother, while the thunder is not strong yet, let's quickly run to the cave halfway up the mountain so that we can see what's going on, Kui Ying said. Senior brother, have you ever felt that under this powerful pressure, there is also a strong sense of vitality? This kind of adventure never happens in 100 years, or even once in a lifetime. In the Dharma ending age, spiritual energy is thin and our cultivation is stagnant. If we just leave and give up, then we might as well do it. Ordinary people, why do you continue to practice? After hearing what his junior sister said, Huashan fell into deep thought. What the junior sister said was that there were no resources on the mountain for them to practice and advance, so the master asked them to go down the mountain to look for opportunities. The opportunity is now in front of us. It would be a pity to leave it like this. Huashan looked up and felt the endless pressure and vitality. From the day they started practicing, they wanted to go further and further instead of standing still. What's the point of living a mediocre life after being exposed to the brilliance of our predecessors? Huashan nodded and said, Junior sister, you are right. This is our chance. Life or death depends on our fate. Let's go up the mountain. Okay, Kui Ying was very happy when she saw that her senior brother had agreed. Although what she said just now was righteous, she didn't dare to go to the back mountain alone. The two brothers and sisters bent forward cautiously and avoided the stray thunder and lightning several times. Finally, they arrived at a cave halfway up the mountain, and they did not dare to move forward anymore. Junior sister, let's stay here, Huashan said. If they go any further, their bodies will not be able to bear it anymore. Kui Ying's face was pale, but she was affectionate and excited. She nodded and said, yes, senior brother. Junior sister, let's start practicing, Huashan said, but before practicing, you should run the King's Inju as soon as possible. With your current excited state, you are not suitable for practicing. Seeing his junior sister acting like this, Huashan quickly reminded her. For the junior sister, the relationship is not just that of junior sister and senior brother, the two of them have been engaged since childhood. Thank you, senior brother, for reminding me, Kui Ying said, finding a quick place to meditate and perform the King's Inju. When Huashan saw his junior sister, he also started practicing. Although this experience is very painful, they can also feel the changes in their bodies. The Snake King in the sky has passed through 6 thunder and lightning, followed by the 7th, 8th, and 9th. There are 3 more thunders, He Tian whispered. Every time the Snake King successfully passed through, she was very happy and looked forward to the Snake King being able to pass the next one. Huo Yingji stared at the sky intently. At this time, the little turtle also appeared, looking up at the sky. While the little spinner turtle was happy and worried for the Snake King, it was more envious. When is it okay to? Hey, forget it. He has no real body, only spiritual consciousness. Maybe a thunder and lightning strike will kill him. The Snake King was in great physical pain, hurting through his bones and soul. He has already gone through 6 thunders, which he has experienced before, so he can endure it as expected. Coming soon is the 7th thunder. That was the beginning of the real test. The Snake King cheered up and roared loudly at the sky, as if he wanted to shout out the anger in his heart, and as if he was challenging the way of heaven. Come on, let the thunder and lightning come more violently. The Snake King knew in his heart that he had nothing now, so he tried his best to survive the thunder tribulation, and then left here to start a new life. Here, he can only act like a coward, secretly liking a woman who has no love for him at all. What's even more tragic is that this woman is now married, and there is a strong man beside him who is stronger than him. So he is the one destined to leave. The 7th thunder came, and he Tian stared at the thunder and lightning in the sky, looking for the location of the Snake King. Because those thunder and lightning seemed to know the Snake King, and they pounced on the Snake King. Even an ordinary person like He Tian felt that the thunder and lightning was more violent than before. He Tian didn't dare to look at it, closed her eyes, and prayed devoutly, hoping that the Snake King could survive the disaster safely. Huo Yingzhi put his arm around He Tian's shoulders, giving her warmth and strength. He Tian, whose body was trembling slightly, gradually calmed down. The 7th path was over. The Snake King was in a very embarrassed state, but he had high fighting spirit. Taking advantage of the gap, he continued to absorb a large amount of spiritual energy after the lightning strike, healed his injuries, strengthened his own strength, and was always ready for the 8th thunderbolt of the hero. Kaka kaka. 8 rays of thunder and lightning rushed from all directions in the distance, surrounding the Snake King. This is the 8th thunder and lightning, and it is really extraordinary. 360 degrees, lightning strikes with no blind spots. The Snake King secretly complained in his heart, but he thought that there was Huo Yingzhi below. Since he had promised to save his life, and since he would not die or be wiped out in ashes, he and the Snake King were not afraid and bravely overcame the disaster. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 569. 567. Thunder and lightning struck the Snake King before, but this time the Snake King began to use his own power to actively hit it. Although there was no good part of his body, it was dripping with blood and the skin was torn, the Snake King could feel the strength of his own bones, so he attacked even more fiercely. Once, twice. The Snake King had lost count of how many times he had repeatedly struck, and was pushed back again and again. It wasn't until half an hour later that the thunder and lightning became hotter and thinner until they disappeared. Ouch! The Snake King's roar of pain and excitement resounded throughout the back mountain. In Huashan, Kui Ying was so shocked by the roar that her orifices bled, she fainted and fell unconscious. Because Huashan and Kui Ying were forced to practice under such pressure, no matter how much benefit they received, they would suffer as much damage, so they fainted. On the other hand, Qianchikan and Sun Sihao in the wooden house in Daowen just listened quietly without making any move. They were just ordinary people, safe and sound. The Snake King once again greedily breathed in the rich spiritual energy in the air, and his body swelled again and again. The bloody body gradually recovered. There is no obstruction in the sky, and a lot of spiritual energy spreads out, permeating the mountains behind Kakan, nourishing everything here. About a quarter of an hour later, the 9th thunder arrived in front of the Snake King. This time not only was it surrounded from all directions, 360 degrees, with no blind spots, but the last lightning was in the shape of a ball, tightly wrapped with a layer on the outside, turning into a large, white, bright ball of light. It also looks like an oversized egg. Brother Yingzhi, what's going on? He Tian asked in confusion. This is too much to bully the Snake King. It's just a circle inside, and there is another circle outside. I wonder if the Snake King can break out from inside. Huo Yingzhi smiled and said, "Don't worry." As soon as Huo Yingzhi finished speaking, the huge ball in the air began to vibrate violently, and a bump appeared on it from time to time. It was estimated that the Snake King inside was hitting the ball. "How can you come out when it's wrapped like a glutinous rice ball?" Tian was anxious, worried that the Snake King would be wrapped up like a glutinous rice ball and wouldn't be able to come out. "It's okay, you have to trust the little snake." Huo Yingji smiled, "he wouldn't take action anyway. Taking action now will harm him." "But what should I do if the Snake King still can't come out?" "He won't turn into dumplings stuffed with snake meat, right?" Tian asked. "Brother Yingji, just help him. If you want him to go to the demon world and be killed as soon as he comes out of the space rift, I will help him." Huo Yingji shrugged. "Anyway, he only needs to send a little spirit snake to the demon world. As for whether he will die, it depends on him." "What is the relationship?" "Ah," Tian was stunned, "isn't that his hometown? Is it so dangerous?" "That's his hometown. The strong are respected, and the weak can only become food for others." Huo Yingji said, "If he can survive the 9 heavens' mysterious thunder and return to the demon world, he will not only have the power to protect himself, but also obtain some inheritance belonging to the spiritual snake lineage. So there is still such a saying, then let the Snake King work hard." Tiandian nodded, looked at the sky, put his hands to his mouth, and shouted loudly, "Snake King, you have to be strong and can't give up." When Tian shouted like this, the Snake King couldn't hear him at all. The Snake King was in a daze, as if he was in a chaotic space, and this space was getting smaller and smaller, as if he wanted to be squeezed into a ball and crushed. The smaller the outer layer of light ball is, the thicker the cocoon-like layer becomes. The Snake King felt that hitting the two increasingly thick layers of lightning with his own body was not a solution. He had to find a point and hit it hard before he could impact out. Drops of water can penetrate stone. The Snake King's tail is not very powerful, so he puts his two claws on the side of the horns on his head, and then hits them hard together. The Snake King's method worked. A round ball of light turned into an oval, but it still did not break. Over and over again, the ball of light changed from circle to oval, and from oval to circle. Repeatedly. Tian was so frightened that she couldn't speak. "When will the Snake King come out?" The ball of light became smaller and smaller, and she was very worried about the Snake King. She couldn't help crying and bit her lip. Maybe it was Tianation's blood that floated into the air, maybe it was Tianation's tears that evaporated into the air, or maybe it was the experience of having blood connections that made the Snake King feel Tianation's anxious and worried mood. Although she didn't fall in love with him, she at least cared about him. This is enough, this trip to the human world was not in vain. The omnipotent Snake King will definitely be able to overcome all difficulties. Omnipotent Snake King, please help me. Snake King, you are so kind. Scenes of the past flashed before the Snake King's eyes. She was watching him from below. Facing the humble and insignificant human beings, he used to call himself the Snake King, only he knew how weak he was. However, in Tianation's heart, she didn't dislike him for boasting and being narcissistic, and she often encouraged him. Sooner or later, he would become the real all-powerful Snake King. Yes, he wants to become the truly omnipotent Snake King. If he dies like this, it means nothing. I want to become a truly omnipotent Snake King. I want to surpass Huo Yingji and Changling God. I want to become stronger. The Snake King encouraged himself over and over again, hitting the light harder over and over again. Ball. Again and again. Over and over again. The Snake King's claws were bloody and the bones were exposed, but he didn't care. The Snake King's hard horns had been worn down to only half, but he continued to pound. If you hit one point repeatedly, no matter how thick it is, it will always penetrate as long as you persist. Even the smallest underwater depths can penetrate hard rocks. The Snake King believes that his hard horns and claws can also tear through all obstacles in front of him. He Tian looked at the ball of light, which trembled violently, causing the surrounding breath to become unstable, and her whole heart was lifted. He Tian was so nervous that she could hardly bear it. Finally, before He Tian was about to faint, the ball of light penetrated a hole as big as a fist. The Snake King saw hope and struck harder, sparing no effort and going all out. Bang! After the Snake King came out, the ball of light exploded. The Snake King was blown back a long way, but stumbled back. Because he wants to replenish energy. As long as he doesn't die, he will absorb enough spiritual energy. Although the Snake King's physical body has not recovered, the strength in his body is even stronger. While sucking this spiritual energy, the Snake King had many more inheritances from the spiritual snake clan in his mind. In his mind, it seemed that there were suddenly many more skills and abilities that he didn't know before. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 570. 568. The Snake King raised his head, a little confused, and looked at the stars. However, his body hurt too much and he wanted to take a rest. Just when the Snake King was thinking about it, Huo Yingji's voice came. "Open your mouth." Huo Yingji's voice suddenly sounded in the Snake King's ears. The Snake King was startled and immediately understood that Huo Yingji was going to help him. Tian, wait for me below and don't go anywhere, Huo Yingji said. Xiaoxian, take care of Tian. Yes, master, the little spinner nodded repeatedly, ensuring that he could complete the task. Brother Yingji, be careful, and you have to pay attention to your safety, He Tian said with concern. The Snake King successfully survived the thunderstorm, and next is Brother Yingji. Huo Yingji turned around and said with a smile, don't worry, just wait for me. Huo Yingji didn't want He Tian to see him beyond human abilities, but if she wasn't allowed to see the Snake King really leave, her little head would definitely suspect that he killed the little snake. Under the gaze of He Tian and the little turtle, Huo Yingji jumped into the sky and came to the vicinity of the Snake King. Your energy is increasing very quickly. I'm going to tear apart the space now. Are you ready? Huo Yingji's eyes were burning as he finally wanted to send this annoying little snake away. The Snake King turned his head and saw He Tian looking up at the sky. He wanted to say goodbye to He Tian, but after saying goodbye, he still had to say goodbye. It was better to leave directly and just be sad once. Ready, the Snake King said when he saw the difficulty. He wanted to leave this place where he had stayed for 6 years. In the demon world, they have a lifespan of thousands of years, and 6 years is just a blink of an eye, fleeting. However, in the human world, the sun rises and sets, and every day is different and wonderful. Time is slow and trivial, and life is busy and fulfilling. In the heart of the Snake King, the memories of so many years in the demon world are not as good as these 6 years. Huo Yingji nodded. This little spirit snake was self-aware and he would not embarrass the little spirit snake. So he pinched a few spells in his hand and punched them into the void. I saw ripples like water waves appearing in the sky not far from the direction Huo Yingji pointed out, rippling around in circles until a large circular hole appeared in the middle. A steady stream of spiritual energy poured into the human world from the entrance of the cave, and the flowers, plants, and trees on the other side of the void could be vaguely seen. They were lush, and were by no means comparable to the mountains behind Kijia village in the human world. You can go home, Huo Yingji said, as if urging. Hidden meaning, get out of here. The Snake King felt a familiar atmosphere. This was his hometown and he could go back. When he was about to leave, the Snake King turned to look at He Tian, the little spin turtle. He Tian also saw the big hole, which was the crack in space. As long as he passed through that place, the Snake King could go home and reunite with his family. Although He Tian was reluctant to let go, she knew the pain of missing her loved ones and sincerely wished the Snake King an early reunion with his family. He Tian waved her hand and said, Snake King, have a good journey, you are my best friend, I will never forget you in my life." Hearing this, the Snake King smiled. Although the Snake King's eyes were blurry and filled with tears at this time, he was still happy that someone could remember him after he left. Huo Yingzhe frowned slightly when he heard He Tianatian's words. He was still up there. Is it appropriate to just say something like this? "Why don't you leave quickly?" Huo Yingzhe squinted his eyes. "If you don't leave, you will never leave." The Snake King smiled like a winner, turned his head, and two crystal clear tears flowed from his eyes. These two tears fell directly on He Tianatian's hands under the Snake King's special technique. Then the Snake King roared loudly, the sound shook all directions, and jumped into the space crack in a flash. The two tears melted into He Tianatian's palm and disappeared, but He Tiantian could hear the Snake King's last words before leaving. "These two tears are the essence of water. I like water, and I hope you can think of me when you see water in the future," the Snake King said softly, with a deep sense of reluctance. He Tiantian was stunned and couldn't help but shed tears. "The days of living together with the Snake King appeared before my eyes." "Snake King, walk all the way," He Tiantian murmured softly. "Also, in my heart, you will always be the cute, arrogant, and omnipotent Snake King." Huo Yingzhe was angry. When tearing open the cracks in the space, he could not use other techniques, otherwise Huo Yingzhe would have taught this little snake a lesson. Seeing that the crack was getting smaller and smaller, Huo Yingzhe let go of the magic formula, with a smile of success on his lips, and punched in a magic formula. "Haha, little snake, you teased my wife before leaving." He Tiantian could also see the beam of light from below, and was secretly shocked. After a while, the ripples gathered and the air returned to calm, as if there was nothing. At this moment, a drizzle began to fall in the sky, moistening everything silently. Huo Yingzhe came down from the air. Although his face was expressionless, there was a smile in his eyes. "Brother Yingzhe, what was that last light you shot out?" He Tiantian asked hurriedly. Her suspicion reappeared, and she was worried that Brother Yingzhe would bully the Snake King. "I knew it would be like this." Huo Yingzhe took 2 deep breaths, turned his head and looked away, calmed down, and said, "I will give him energy so that when he returns to the demon world, he can kill everyone." "Do we have to start killing?" He Tiantian was a little scared, worried that the Snake King would be bullied when he returned to the demon world. "Snakes are floating in the rivers and lakes, and there is no one who doesn't get stabbed. The Snake King kills other monsters all day long, and sooner or later he will be killed by other monsters. That is their fate. If they don't stand against other monsters, they will be killed by other monsters," Huo Yingzhe said. "Don't worry, I have given him huge energy, and the spiritual snake inheritance in his own mind will also be destroyed once it starts. It will be safe." He didn't lie. The light before was the energy he gave to the Snake King. But at the same time, he also did a bad thing. He sent the little snake directly to the black bear's den, so that when he returned, he would be attacked by his enemies. Siege. "Haha, little spirit snake, aren't you very awesome? Then fight with the enemy black bear family." Huo Yingzhe didn't do anything wrong. With the energy he gave, the little spirit snake could defeat the black bear spirit family, and he was worthy of his wife's benefactor. He Tiantian thought about it and looked in the sky again. She saw that the Snake King had gone back. She was just an ordinary human being. So what if she was worried? She could only wish the Snake King in her heart that everything goes well and be safe. "Oh, I hope so," He Tian nodded and looked around the cooling pool. The wild jujube trees on the side became listless due to the lower temperature here, and the small wild jujubes on them also wilted. Please subscribe and reward. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 571. 569. Huo Yingzhe and He Tiantian came back at 4 o'clock in the morning. He Tiantian was very tired, but instead of sleeping, she snuggled against Huo Yingzhe's chest. Huo Yingzhe knew that He Tiantian had few friends, and losing one suddenly made her feel sad. He understood very well and patted He Tiantian's back gently through the quilt. The high-pitched voice of the big rooster in the backyard came, telling people that it was done. He Tiantian closed her eyes to rest, and when she heard the crow of the rooster, she started to get up. It's a bit cloudy outside, with drizzle in the sky. There was no wind, so it wasn't cold. Huo Yingzhe got up and put on his raincoat to fetch water. He met people in the village and said hello from time to time. Maybe it was because the Snake King had left, or maybe it was raining and there was no Sunday. He Tiantian was in a low mood and couldn't lift her spirits all day long. The most energetic person in the family is He Daodu. He Daodu is the nickname of He Tiantian's younger brother. As for the name, it was left to his grandmother abroad. Huo Yingzhe understood He Tiantian and didn't talk too much to He Tiantian. He Tiantian needed to adjust the situation by himself. In a cave halfway up the mountain, Huashan, Kuiying slowly woke up after dawn. The blood flowing from their noses had dried, and the two of them were a little embarrassed. However, they didn't care about this at this time, and started to operate the skills in their bodies, and they were all overjoyed. After 1 week, Kuiying was pleasantly surprised and said, "Brother, my cultivation has improved." "Me too," Huashan replied excitedly, "although it is dangerous, there are many benefits. If something like this happens in the future, we will come back." "Yes," Kuiying said, "Senior brother, did you see clearly what that was last night?" Hearing this, Huashan felt less happy in his heart, shook his head and said, "I didn't see it clearly, but I heard the master said before that it should be a tribulation. It's just that the spiritual energy is thin, and humans can't practice." "How did that monster practice?" "To overcome the tribulation." After hearing this, Kuiying shook her head and said, "I didn't see clearly either, but I'm sure there's something extraordinary about Kijia village. I'm going to write a letter to Dad and ask him to come. If this place is suitable for cultivation, we will stay. It's here." Huashan thought for a while and said, "Actually, Kijia village is quite nice here. The villagers are simple and live and work in peace and contentment." "Yes, since we can't find the reason, we have to keep looking," Kuiying said. She believed that the reason why she couldn't find the reason was that she was not capable enough and needed to work hard. "We have been out for a long time, it's time to go back," Huashan said, "otherwise we will arouse others' suspicion." The two of them went down the mountain. In order to cover up others' eyes and ears, when Huashan passed by the underground river, they caught a few fish weighing 2 or 3 kilograms and brought them back to the educated youth point. With fish, other educated youths won't care if they go out early in the morning. Spring rain is as precious as oil, nourishing everything. It rained for 2 days before it completely cleared up. It's not yet the time for spring plowing, but Kijia village has more important things to do than spring plowing. Village Chief Chi asked all the young people in the village who came from the city to be called to the village branch. He Tiantian is an educated youth and is also within the scope. Huo Yingzhe followed closely and wanted to know why Secretary Chi asked He Tiantian to come over. Seeing everyone coming, Secretary Chi said with a smile, "Sit down, everyone, sit down. Yesterday I went to the county seat for a meeting. The money to build the school has been allocated and construction will start tomorrow." Secretary Chi said with a smile, "I asked you to come here today just to discuss the school teachers." When Wang Lei and Zhang Qingshan heard this, their eyes lit up. Being a teacher is much better than working. "Secretary Chi, of course we are willing to be teachers, but does the policy really allow it?" Wang Lei asked worriedly. He also wanted to be a teacher, but he was worried that one day the policy would change and they would become the target of criticism. Secretary Chi smiled and said, "You don't have to worry about this. Almost all primary and secondary schools outside have started classes. Although I can't guarantee that nothing will happen to you, in Kijia village, if the policy is wrong, I will dismiss you immediately. I won't let you be implicated. When Wang Lei heard this, he felt slightly relieved and said, then I'll trouble Secretary Chi. I made some predictions. Our primary school is quite large. The Yahung class plus 5 grades will probably have 5 to 600 people. Village Chief Chi said, a class of 50 people would be more than a dozen people. A class requires a dozen teachers. You are educated youths who have gone to school and are young people. You are usually responsible for literacy work in the village. You do a good job, so I will ask you first if you are willing. If so, I will report your names. After hearing this, Zhang Qingshan chuckled and said, of course we are willing to be teachers, but we have all started families and need to support our families. Look at the salary. Zhang Qingshan is a straightforward and shrewd person, but he is not evil-minded. Secretary Chi has a good impression of him. If you have any matters, please tell them clearly in person and don't whisper behind your back and make random guesses. As for the salary, the commune has tentatively set it at 15 yuan a month, 10 kilograms of rice, 10 kilograms of rice, and 20 kilograms of cornmeal. Secretary Chi explained, of course, this salary is a bit low, and it is not as good as the work points you earn, so I told Aunt Chi that Aunt Chi would make up for the teacher's salary by 10 yuan per person every month, which would add up to 25 yuan. For a couple from the city like you, the total would be 50 yuan. Quite high. I heard that you can earn 50 yuan and there is food. Not to mention in the countryside, it is also good in the city. After hearing this, Wang Lei, Zhang Qingshan and others nodded and said, it's indeed very good. He Tian is also very happy. Now that the Snake King has left, she doesn't have to go to the back mountain. If possible, she can also become a teacher, even in the first grade. I don't want to be a shit shovel anymore. Just when everyone started to sign up, Chi Shulai came in from outside. After sitting down, he said slowly, Village Chief, it's not appropriate that all the teachers in the school are young people from the city. Wang Lei and other young people from the city were stunned. Things seemed to have changed. Chi Shulai was not afraid of these educated youths, and said with a smile, don't look at me like this. You are from the city and are literate. I admit it, but your hometown is not here. What if one day, you leave? We won't be able to recruit teachers for a while, which will delay the students in the village. Although Village Chief Chi doesn't want to see Chi Shulai, if he thinks about it carefully, what Chi Shulai said is not unreasonable. What suggestions does Accountant Chi have? Secretary Chi asked. After all, he was from the same village, so he couldn't exclude Chi Shulai in front of others. Chi Shulai smiled and said, it's actually very simple and fair. There are also a few junior high school students in our village, and they can all be teachers. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 572. 570. Chi Shulai's reason for being successful is not without reason. First, his daughter Chi Zhenzhen graduated from junior high school and can be a teacher, which is decent. Secondly, his son-in-law Li Mingkai graduated from high school and can be a teacher. In fact, there is a more important reason. Chi Shulai learned from his second daughter Chi Fenfen that Li Mingkai, this bastard, had been flirting with some women in the commune, and something would happen sooner or later. After Chi Shulai knew about this, he was thinking about letting Li Mingkai come to be a teacher. On the one hand, it can make his daughter and son-in-law earn more money, on the other hand, it is also to maintain a complete family. Li Mingkai is not a good-for-nothing, but his grandchildren are his darlings. Village Chief Chi calculated and found that it was indeed the case. There were indeed a few junior high school students in the village. He said, okay, those who meet the requirements in the village should report it, and those educated youth who are willing to be teachers should also report it, and the best ones will be admitted. Even if Wang Lei and Zhang Qingshan were not convinced, they could do nothing about it. After all, they are outsiders, and Qi Shulai also said that if they have the opportunity, they are willing to return to their hometown. After all, their relatives and friends are there. Everyone left their names and waited for review. Because there are many students, many teachers are needed, so it should not be a problem. He Tiantian is not worried that she can't be a teacher. After all, the relationship between the two families is there, and He Tiantian is popular in the village. When she got home, Huo Yingzhi smiled and asked, "Do you want to be a teacher?" He Tiantian smiled and whispered, "Compared to the shit shoveling officer of the animal husbandry team, I still want to be a teacher." Shit shoveling officer, Huo Yingzhi was stunned, and then laughed, "Ha ha ha, this title is appropriate." In the evening, Secretary Qi brought a bottle of wine and asked Grandpa Qi, He Jingyu, and Huo Yingzhi to drink. He Tiantian saw Secretary Qi coming, and quickly fried 2 more dishes. During the meal, village chief Qi talked about the dilemma. The young people from the city in the village are all doing well, and the young people in our village are also good, but there are too many to arrange, and the village will probably be noisy again. Haha, that's true, then you need to weigh it carefully, He Jingyu said. If you don't let the people in the village be teachers, they will have opinions, and it's not good to step down and let the young people in the city. Huo Yingzhi smiled and said, "In fact, you see, there are so many children in the village, and when they are busy, there is no time to take care of them. It's okay for 1 or 2 years old, they can't walk far, and the elderly can watch them, but those 3 or 4-year-old children run around everywhere, and the elderly can't catch up, which is easy to get into trouble. You might as well set up a few more red education classes, separate yards, and get some toys and slides. Balls, let these children play. They are all in the same class, with teachers watching, nothing serious will happen." When Secretary Qi heard this, he slapped his thigh and said, "Yes, this is a good idea. These naughty boys run around happily, I'm afraid they will go to the water. It's a pity, last year there were 2 children in the village who secretly went to the dark river and died." Old man Qi also agreed, "It's a pity. Dazu, the children in the Yahung class are young, you can build a separate yard next to the primary school, build a few classrooms, and let a few junior high school students take care of the children. If there are not enough people, you can also pick someone from the village who is older, quick-handed, and graduated from primary school." "Yeah, that's right." Village Chief Qi took note of it. Qi Shuliang said in the letter to him that the primary school should be built better. As long as the children come to Kijia village primary school, only half of the tuition will be charged, and Qi Shuliang will pay for the books. In addition to the teacher's salary, Grandma Qi San will subsidize it, so Qi Dazu doesn't worry about the money problem. This can be handled well, and everyone is happy. Qi Fangfang heard about the benefits of being a teacher and was very tempted. But she had made a scene at her cousin's wedding before, which made her cousin Qi Zhenzhen and her second uncle's family lose face, so she was embarrassed to go. Qi Fangfang told Qi's mother about this matter and said, "Mom, the village is building a primary school now, and there are 25 yuan a month, and there are 10 kilograms of rice, 10 kilograms of noodles, and 20 kilograms of cornmeal. I also want such a good job. But I'm afraid they don't want me." Qi's mother heard that there were so many things and it was close to home, so it was indeed a good job. She said, "Don't worry, Mom will definitely let you be a teacher." Qi Fangfang smiled proudly. Mom must have gone to find Grandma and then to her second uncle's house. Sure enough, Qi's mother took her mother-in-law and went directly to Qi Shulai's house. Amid the fierce crying of Qi's wife, Qi Shulai promised to get Qi Fangfang a teacher's quota in the school. Although Qi Shulai didn't like Qi Fangfang, he thought that Qi Fangfang's family was not living well, and Chi Fang Fang had been relatively well behaved over the years, so he agreed. Shulai, I have to say this in advance. If Fang Fang doesn't do a good job as a teacher, I will also fire her, Chi Dazu said. Although the school has not been built yet, he is the village party secretary and has money. Although it was sponsored by Chi Shuliang gave him full authority, so he has this right. Chi Shulai smiled but didn't smile. He was unhappy, but he finally explained to his mother and said, okay, all teachers who don't do a good job must be fired. They can't harm the children of our Kijia village. It's better if you think so, Secretary Chi nodded. Chi Shulai is sensible, and he won't make things too difficult for him. The village is so big that sometimes people like this can be used. He Tian received the appointment letter written by Secretary Chi himself, and was very happy. She put it away carefully. After that, Kijia village began to be lively. Finally, under the decision of village chief Chi and several village cadres, a piece of woods and wasteland to the east of the village was chosen and filled in as the site of the school, covering more than 30 acres. Carloads of bricks, tiles, and stones were transported to Kijia village. The village party secretaries of the other 3 villages brought people over to dig foundations and build schools. With the strength of many people, abundant funds, and the support of the county, after half a month, everything was ready and construction of the house began. These days, the houses are all built by oneself, but in order to build spacious classrooms, individuals are sent from the commune to take over the leadership work. In just 1 month, the school was built, with red bricks and blue tiles, and high courtyard walls. The classroom has clear windows and a concrete floor. The houses in the school are much better than those in Kijia village. Many villagers came to see it and were very envious, thinking that they would be able to live in a large tile-roofed house with cement floors at some time. The weather was good. During this period, the sun was warm and there was a breeze. Opening the windows for a few days allowed the house to dry out. After that, new tables, chairs and benches were placed neatly in the classroom. Small trees have been planted on both sides of the road in the school, as well as some durable coxcombs, backgammons, and poppies. A primary school was built amidst everyone's great expectations.